The social shame system and how it applies to the FBI. We're going to discuss that tonight. Ned Ryun is here. The coach, Senator Tommy Tuberville, is here to talk Trump assassination stuff. Scott Presler's trying to win an election. All that and more coming up on I'm Right. Let's talk about social shame, the social shame system, as I call it. Let's talk about that in regards to the FBI. You see, we have a problem. We have a secret state police agency that works on behalf of the regime and power. It works against its enemies and for its friends. We are now fresh off the heels of the second Trump assassination attempt, and maybe you tuned in yesterday and you saw the FBI special agent in charge get up and say this.
I can also share with you that he was the subject of a previously closed 2019 tip to the FBI where it was alleged he was a felon in possession of a firearm. In following up on the tip, the alleged complainant was interviewed and did not verify, I repeat, did not verify providing the initial information. The FBI passed that information to local law enforcement in Honolulu.
I know you're probably saying, oh, what a shock, another known guy. And yes, we could travel down that road, but I want to talk about that man really quickly. That man, special agent in charge, the one heading up this investigation, you know what happened to him in 2023? He was forced by the powers that be to scrub his social media. Oh, wow. Must be bad. What was on there? Well, Trump hatred. He's a dyed-in-the-wool, America-hating, Trump-hating communist who despises Donald Trump with every fiber of his being. And here we are now, about 48 hours removed from yet another person trying to blow Donald Trump's head off. And the person in charge of the investigation for the FBI hates Donald Trump with the fire of 1,000 suns. By the grace of God, this happened in Florida. So Ron DeSantis has already come out and announced that because these are state charges and because it happened in Florida, that the state of Florida is going to be conducting its own separate investigation. And he even referenced the fact that, well, we can't hardly trust the feds, can we? Being as how these are the same people, the same organization trying to throw Donald Trump in federal prison. And that brings me to this, the social shame system. What is that? We've talked about it before, but what is it? Well, you should understand it's the most powerful force that determines what your culture, what your country, what your community looks like, the social shame system. It's actually not laws. Laws matter. It's not politicians or leaders, even though politicians matter, leadership matters. The social shame system is the most important thing out there. For instance, let's talk about abortion really quickly. This will sound separate, but it's not. But let's talk about abortion. Abortion's got a long, sordid history in this country. Maybe you're super pro-life like me. Maybe you're okay with murdering babies. We're not talking about that right now. But what did abortion used to be? Doesn't matter. Roe versus Wade laws, what did it used to be? It used to be shameful, not something you would brag about. If it's something you wanted to do, or maybe it's even something you've done in the past, did you brag about it? Did you talk about it? No. You found a way to sneak behind your parents' back. Or maybe your parents even helped you, but hey, don't tell your friends, don't tell the neighbors. We'll go down to the clinic and we'll murder the baby. It was powerful. The social shame portion of that was powerful. It was maybe the best pro-life thing that existed because you didn't want to be known as somebody who killed your baby. Therefore, abortions were extremely rare. The social shame system made them extremely rare. Today, through years and years and years of propaganda and cultural rot, women will go on TikTok, I just had my 5th abortion, woo, murdered it. Because the social shame system is broken. That brings us to the FBI. And this is going to be more difficult for you The older you are, and that's not at all an insult to older people, I'll explain in a moment. I'm 43. What I'm about to say will be easier for me to say, easier for me to hear than someone who's 63. It will be harder for me to say and harder for me to hear than someone who is 23. And here's why. For the longest period of time, I'm not talking about with hardcore, super informed people, which you might be, but for the longest period of time, the norms, the norms in our society, most people revered the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It is something that has been admirable. It is something where if you got into the FBI, you bragged to your friends about it. You put the certificate above your desk. If your child, your son, your daughter got into the FBI, you would show up at a party that Friday in the neighborhood, practically with the bullhorn. Aiden got into the FBI, woo! Bragging about it. It's something to celebrate because it's such a revered institution and has been for so long. We can argue about whether or not it should have been, but for any length of time, for the longest period of time, it has been. But as it has slowly but surely morphed into an evil, murderous, despicable secret state police agency that works on behalf of Democrats against Republicans, we must. It is up to us. It's not just up to Republicans or Trump or this or that. It is up to you and it is up to me to change how the FBI is thought of and treated in this country. People think I'm being mean or being harsh when I say this, but believe me when I tell you it's true. The FBI agent in your neighborhood should be shunned. Don't invite him to parties. You should speak down to someone when you find out they're in the FBI. When someone tells you, hey, my name's Mark, I'm in the FBI, you should look at that person and speak to that person as if they just introduced themselves as a porn star. That's exactly how you should treat the filthy, dirty secret state police. Oh, Jesse, it's too harsh. We will know we have overcome the secret state police agency when moms and dads are ashamed to say that Aiden, Jaden, and Braden got into the FBI. You know, I've said this before, I'll say it again before I show you a little video on how to treat these people, but I want you to hear me and know it well. Do you know how many people, after he took power, do you know how many people Hitler killed? Personally, I mean with his hands. 0. Mao killed plenty of people when he was younger, but according to our records, do you know how many people Mao killed once he took power in China? 0. Pol Pot, Cambodia, 0. But we can go older if you'd like. Ivan the Terrible, once he took power, how many people did he slaughter of his own countrymen? How many did he kill by his own hand? We don't know for sure, but the records look like 0. Stalin, 0. Well, how did we get all these dead bodies? If Hitler wasn't killing people, and Mao wasn't killing people, and Stalin wasn't killing people, and Ivan the Terrible, if they weren't killing people, how did we get all these dead bodies? We got all these dead bodies because each and every one of those men had a secret state police agency with guns who worked exclusively on their behalf to slaughter the people they considered their political enemies. There is nothing more dangerous in the United States of America right now than what's happening with the administrative state, namely the FBI and a couple other agencies taking their guns and aiming them at you. That's a fact. So from now on, if an FBI agent happens to show up at your door to ask you about a post you put online or ask you anything in the world, 1, what you say is lawyer. 2, handle them and speak to them exactly like this.
You see our badges.
I need to see, is your full name on that badge?
No.
I'd like to see something with your full name or I'm not going to talk to you.
I prefer you not to broadcast it.
This will be going online as soon as you walk away.
Well, all I want to do is talk to you about a post that was made, and if you happen to be the one that made it.
I want to talk to you about you guys coming here. Say you make a salary of, I don't know what, low 100K? You guys making 6 figures? Factor in 50% expenses, overhead, maybe 100% expenses. Talking about burning a couple $100 an hour just here, let alone all the time you guys are spending to investigate something that you know is not against the law, right? Like you're familiar with. So then why would you come?
Because we wanted to make sure that there weren't any.
No, you're coming because you're part of a regime that does this kind of thing when you know laws aren't being broken, and that's an embarrassment, man. Didn't you guys read the Constitution? Do you not believe in America? Like, how do you do your jobs and go home?
We appreciate it.
You're walking away because nothing we did is against the law, and you guys are heads that try to act like bullies. And I hope you go home and are embarrassed. You can't even say your name on camera because you know that what you're doing is embarrassing. You know Americans that believe in the Constitution think you're laughable. And you go home and you think about what you did today. Go home and think about it, you cowards.
Gosh, that's so well done for so many reasons. Let's bring in the man himself and talk about that. Joining me now, tech entrepreneur and a man who understands exactly how you speak to feds when they show up at your door, Jeremy Kauffman. Jeremy, look, we'll get to the actual interaction and all these things in a moment, but I can't get the words out of my head, even though he practically whispered them. I want to talk to you about a post you made online. The Federal Bureau of Investigation showed up at your home and said those words. Man, what a place we're in as a country.
It's terrifying. I wish I could say that it's unexpected, but it does feel like this is the America we've become in the last 5 or so years.
Jeremy, first, I love how you handled it because you treated them with scorn. And so many people on the right, wherever they happen to fall on the right, I don't give a crap, conservative, libertarian, nationalist, doesn't matter to me. We have this older, more reverential feel for things like the FBI. In hardcore righty circles, this won't matter, but for most normal Americans, you hear FBI and you think, oh, wow, that's really great. Parents still brag to their friends. My son, Junior's in the FBI. But it really is important we get to a place in society where people speak to the FBI exactly like you just did, isn't it?
Absolutely. So, I am a right-wing libertarian. I live in New Hampshire as part of a movement for right-wing libertarians to concentrate in New Hampshire, and having that support network and culture that encourages this kind of thing was certainly a big part of what let me do this. But I absolutely agree that people need to be waking up to our current moment. We have a left-wing authoritarian power structure that has conquered an incredible amount of institutions that used to be neutral institutions. These include not just the FBI, they include a number of branches of the federal government. It includes colleges and universities, and it includes journalists. And this complex is enforcing a set of left-wing authoritarian values on the entire country, and they're being psychopathic about it, quite frankly.
Jeremy, how did we get here? I know it was a long slog to get here, but man alive, does Ron Paul, speaking of libertarianism, does Ron Paul look so smart in hindsight to those of us who didn't see during his time how quickly that domestic terrorism program that was put into place was turned on American citizens?
Well, yeah, Ron Paul was right. It's something that's said far too often. I can brag a little bit about being against the Iraq war when I was 18, and I was marching to make sure we didn't get COVID tyranny in April 2020. So, the libertarians in New Hampshire have passed these tests. But I hope that more people can wake up and not let these kinds of things happen, because I do think, hopefully it's not too late. But we are approaching a period where it will be too late. And at that point, there won't be a coming back that's clean. I'm not trying to encourage anything, but we are approaching that time, and we need to be thinking about, where is our personal line and what are we going to do about this? My answer is that people who believe in freedom and liberty still need to be making sure that they're building, personal networks. They need to be making sure that they have, friends, allies, people who share their values. If you are in a highly left-wing authoritarian local climate or local culture, I think you need to be seriously thinking about getting out.
Where have I heard that before? That is so true. Find yourself a coalition, a community, a neighborhood, a town, and begin building a network, because you just might need one in the future. Jeremy Kauffman, well done. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much. Ned Ryun knows a lot about this stuff, the administrative state, how it's turned evil and how quickly it's turned evil. We're going to speak to Ned about that in just a moment. Before we do that, you know what else you need? Some dream powder from Beam. That's what you need, some dream powder in your life. You see, dream powder not only lets you sleep like a baby, you wake up like a champion. That's the difference. A million things can help you sleep. There's nothing unique about taking something, a pill, a powder, a this or that, that helps you sleep. It's how you wake up that actually matters. Everything else I've ever taken in my life to sleep, I wake up and I want to die. One eye's half drooping out of my head. You feel horrible. Dream powder, you wake up and you feel completely rested because it's natural stuff, melatonin, things like that. It's a cup of hot chocolate before bed, and it's 40% off, 40, if you go to shopbeam.com/Jesse Kelly. Cinnamon hot chocolate's the one I have. I always have a bag of it in the house. Go get some. We'll be back.
And boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
Wow. That was after the second assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Look, I said it yesterday. I know it hurts to hear. I just don't see how we avoid a Trump assassination at this point in time unless Trump massively changes his personal security. It's very clear all the people trying to kill him are going to keep trying to kill him. Democrats aren't going to back off the rhetoric. We're in an ugly situation right now in this country. Joining me now, Ned Ryun, author of the book American Leviathan, also my friend. Ned, look, tell me how Donald Trump lives, Ned. I hate saying it. I'm sickened. I'm saddened by it. But this is 2 attempts in 2 months. Clearly, the media and Democrats have only ramped things up afterwards. Right. They're already writing articles about it was his fault. We are entering into being a culture of assassination in this country.
We are. And Jesse, I sincerely hope that I think there will be other attempts. I think we're at that stage where there will be more attempts on Donald Trump between now and November 5th. I continue to pray for his safety, that God protects him, because they are not going to back down. They view him as an existential threat to them, to the status quo, to the administrative state. And what they are determined to do is make sure he never gains power again.
Ned, let's talk about something a little bit deeper here, because it's a question I have, and I don't even know if there's a correct answer, but setting aside all the hive mind stuff and the communist proclivity for using drastic words, everyone's Hitler, I get all that stuff that they always do, that kind of thing. But there does seem to be a different, more visceral response to Trump than even George Bush, who they hated, or Reagan, or so. It does seem to be different and definitely elevated. What is it specifically? Is it his border policy? We all know the globalists want an open border. Is it foreign policy? This has long been what I suspected, because there's a lot of money and dangerous men involved in foreign policy. Yes. What is it that really gets them wanting this guy dead?
Well, I explained in the opening chapter of the book, Donald Trump showed up in D.C. January of 2017, essentially declared, I'm the duly elected president of the United States. For all intents and purposes, he does decide a lot of domestic policy, but a lot of foreign policy as well. And for having the temerity to say, I'm the duly elected president of the American people, saying, I decide, he was treated as an existential threat, as a traitor to his country by the administrative state, by its allies in the Democratic Party, let's face it, inside the establishment Republican Party and the corporate propagandists. The reason they view him as such a threat, Jesse, is because he rejects the premise. He rejects the premise that the administrative state is legitimate. And the reason that they did not view George W. Bush or George H.W. Bush or McCain as such a threat to them is because they accepted the premise that the administrative state was okay. It was perfectly legitimate. And their only problem with it, Jesse, was that they weren't running it. The last president to reject the premise the administrative state was legitimate was Reagan. And the only one since then has been Donald Trump. That's why they hate him so much, because what he wants to do is come in and say, in a constitutional republic, the duly elected representatives of the American people are the ones that decide. And that's not how DC's been running for decades, Jesse. I mean, in the book, I chronicle out the whole process by which they put in place the administrative state, which they intended to separate out from any accountability from the American people and have those unelected bureaucrats do the actual governing of this country.
You do. You lay it out very clearly in American Leviathan, and that's why I wanted to ask you about it. And I wanted to ask you about, how do we take it down, Ned? Because especially when you dig into your book, which I highly recommend people buy, it seems so all-encompassing. Our government is huge. The administrative state is enormous. It is extremely powerful. It is full of America-hating commies who despise the American citizen. They despise our freedoms. And without a Congress willing to defund it, I don't care who, we could resurrect George Washington and put him in the Oval Office. We can't take it down.
Well, so first of all, let's understand where the progressives are coming from. They hate the moral and political authority of the U.S. Constitution. They've been seeking to undermine it. They've been seeking to destroy the machinery of the republic. And so they've allowed themselves, our elected officials have over the course of the 20th century just ceded more and more power to them. As you mentioned, they keep on funding them. They've even unconstitutionally, Jesse, ceded and subdelegated legislative authority to the administrative state, which resides primarily inside the executive branch. You asked, how do we get back? How can we start to break this apart? Well, there's three things, I think. First of all, since it's in the executive branch, a powerful executive, say Donald J. Trump, can take a lot of steps as the head of the executive branch to break it apart, dismantle it. The Supreme Court is actually stepping up to the plate and saying, we're not going to abide by you taking some of our judicial powers inside the administrative state. The Chevron deference, which I write about, this decision this fall, they said we will no longer defer to the decisions of the unelected bureaucrats and their statutes and regulations. So that's a step in the right direction, Jesse. They also said that the SEC tribunals, the Securities and Exchange Commission, you can no longer have your private tribunals that vote 90% of the time in favor of the SEC. Those are unconstitutional. They undermine an independent judiciary. Oh, by the way, annihilate the Seventh Amendment right to trial by jury. So Supreme Court stepping up, powerful executive stepping up. And the third thing is the American people need to be aware of what's actually going on. That's why I wrote the book. And when enough of the American people understand what's taking place and reject the legitimacy of the administrative state, I think that's the beginning of the end for it.
I totally agree with you on that, Ned. I've been speaking about this a lot lately, about how it's up to all of us. Every ounce of legitimacy we grant to the administrative state is an ounce of legitimacy they will use to assault us. We have got to stop revering things like the FBI. It's up to all of us, isn't it?
Behind me is a biography of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who said not to act is to act, not to speak is to speak. And the silence of the American people for too long has been taken as them assenting to the administrative state. And the American people need to make their voices heard November 5th. How do you change this whole scenario, Jesse? Politics is policy. You have to gain political power with the right people to change fundamentally how it operates in D.C. So you ask me, how are we going to bring change? Donald Trump needs to get back into political power. He has shown the political courage to go after them. I think there's enough steps laid out in this book and others that he can start to devolve it. But it's going to require a certain amount of political courage. You talk about there'll probably be another assassination attempt on Trump. If and when he wins and is reinaugurated into the White House, Jesse, I'm telling you, we will see a cold political war in D.C. like we've never seen before. Everything that's taken place with the Russian collusion hoax, Ukrainian quid pro quo, all of that, that's just a warm-up act. If he really goes after the administrative state, Katie, bar the door.
I agree. Ned Ryun, the book is American Leviathan. Highly recommended if you want to know how vast the spider web is. Ned, my brother, appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. All right. We have the coach, Senator Tommy Tuberville, joins us next. Talk about some military matters, Trump assassination stuff. First, I want to talk to you about your phone, though, your garbage cell phone company. You shouldn't have Verizon. You should not make monthly payments to AT&T or T-Mobile. These companies take the money you give them. You pay them every month. They take that money and they use that money against you and your values in your country. We, all of us, we fund the people who are destroying us. In the corporate world now, it's so evil, we have to fight with our money. So spend your money elsewhere. I know you need a cell phone. I get it. Switch to Pure Talk. You will save a pile of money. My bill got cut in half. Pure Talk's on the same 5G network. And you will support a company who shares and promotes your values. Put your money where your morals are and stop funding your enemy. puretalk.com/JesseTV. We'll be back.
I think the American people are going to be shocked, astonished, and appalled by what we will report to them about the failures by the Secret Service in this assassination attempt on the former president. But I think they also ought to be appalled and astonished by the failure of the Department of Homeland Security to be more forthcoming, to be as candid and frank as it should be to them in terms of providing information. And we are going to absolutely insist on the truth and the whole truth.
Yeah. He hasn't been that shaken since his time in Vietnam. I am curious, what is this horrifying truth? Keep in mind that Blumenthal made those comments before the second attempt on Trump's life, which of course will not be the last one. Joining me now, the Coach Tommy Tuberville, Republican Senator, great state of Alabama. Coach, count me as being extremely suspicious that Dick Blumenthal would be talking about any level of failure in the government. Democrats worship the government. What's the game here? What's going on?
Well, Jesse, there's no sense of urgency up here. I'll tell you that. This amazes me. You know, we've had a president that's been targeted twice for an assassination attempt, and you would think that people would be jumping over themselves trying to find a way to figure out how we can keep this guy safe for the next 48 days, because, as you said, there's going to be another attempt some way, somehow. And people don't understand President Trump. He's a different candidate. He's a different president. He actually works. He never sleeps. He's got more energy than anybody I've ever been around. He works 14, 18 hours a day. He wants to go out to all these rallies. Yeah. And it's just unfortunate that they're mischaracterizing him.
Coach, can you explain, because you're the one there, you're the one trying to get answers, can you explain what we're seeing? Because everyone's complaining about slow rolling it, the incompetence you just mentioned, there's no sense of urgency. If you're somebody like me who believes there are very evil, probably murderous people in our federal government, it looks extremely suspicious, but it might be incompetence. I haven't ruled out the fact. Look, Dick Blumenthal's there. Maybe they're just all morons. Is this nefarious? Are these people just idiots? What's going on?
Well, there's a combination of everything, Jesse. It's just unfortunate that we're having to deal with this because, as you said, that when the Democrats are in charge, and they have been for the last 3.5 years, they've created a lot of firsts in our country. First in massive immigration, massive crime, massive debt, you name it, they've created it. They've been number one. They've been wanting to be. And now we've had an assassination attempt of a former president and then another one. And there's no sense of urgency. We need answers. We need help. We need the SEALs. We need the Rangers. We need everybody out there helping Donald Trump to be able to get out of his basement, because the Democrats don't want to leave their basement. They don't want to campaign. They're going to just live off whatever they try to do to get elected. But President Trump wants to get out amongst the people and go out and talk to the people, tell them, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I think they want to keep him inside, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, no matter what they do, he's going to go out and continue to work.
Coach, obviously the rhetoric, it doesn't matter how much we yell and scream about it. Rhetoric like this is obviously going to continue.
What is the greatest national security threat to the United States? It's Donald Trump.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Donald Trump cannot be president again. He's an existential threat to democracy.
Look, are they a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to take our rights away? Yes. Are they going to put people's lives in danger? Yes.
We have to defeat a person who is a threat to our democracy of the kind that we have not seen.
Trump is an enemy of the United States.
Having Trump not only have had the codes, but now having the classified information for Americans and being able to put that out and share it in his resort with anyone and everyone who comes through should be terrifying to all Americans, and he needs to be stopped.
MAGA in general, they are threats to us domestically.
He is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
Coach, if I use language like that repeatedly against someone who keeps getting assassination attempts, I would take a long, hard moment and look in the mirror about my rhetoric and how it's prompting the nut jobs in my base. But obviously these people don't consider that, or is it that they want him hurt?
Well, first of all, if you look in Webster's dictionary up here under the word idiot, that's who you'd find, all those people. They have no common sense whatsoever. And look at our country. $36 trillion in debt, and these people think they're doing a great job, and they're blaming it on Donald Trump. How about looking in the damn mirror? Because that's exactly what they need to do. These people have no sense of urgency, no sense of business sense. They can't run any organization. Our military is going to hell in a handbasket, and everything up here has been compromised since they've been in office. And then we got this lady that they put in to run for president of the United States, and she's worse than the rest of them. I don't understand it, Jesse. I really don't.
Yeah, let's talk about the military, Coach, because you've been as good as you can possibly be on this subject, trying to get the filth out of the military. But as NATO, obviously America is part of this, is authorizing long-range missile strikes inside the heartland of the largest nuclear power on Earth, the United States Navy is launching its first gender-neutral submarine. How rotted is our military right now?
Oh, if it doesn't have DEI in it, they don't want to have anything to do with it. This is not an equal opportunity job. When you're in the military, when you're in law enforcement, we're in the Secret Service. It has nothing to do with equal opportunity. How about being the best you can be? What our motto used to be in the military, be the best you can be. And if you're not, you don't make it. We don't push anybody anymore. We don't train anybody to the best. We don't take anything for meritocracy anymore. It is absolutely a disaster. And I'm telling you, if we couldn't fight one war right now against Mexico, much less against Russia or China or any Iran, any of these other countries. I'm on Armed Services Committee, and our recruiting is down. I don't know where they expect to get people to fight a war, because they are absolutely running people away from the military, not to the military.
God, it's freaking horrible. Okay, let's switch gears again here. Spending bill. Obviously, we're going to get yet another massive spending bill without a penny in cuts, as if the debt crisis isn't just about, well, pretty much at our doorstep now. Are we going to get anything at all in the spending bill for the first time in human history?
No, they're going to kick the can down the road. It'll be the CR will pass. We'll continue to go by former spending budgets. And then at the end of the day, we'll have an omnibus in December, and they'll put everything in there but the kitchen sink and everything in there that doesn't make any difference. They're not going to help the taxpayers. They just want to spend their money. And again, we're printing, Jesse, $80,000 a second right now, to keep this country going. We're so deep in a recession, people don't realize it, but they've been in a recession since they took office, but they don't know how to put a meaning to in the dictionary to a recession. I'm just been appalled by how this government is being run from top to bottom.
Coach, finally, I am hearing some rumors that are much more than rumors. My people are telling me that John Cornyn is the leader in the clubhouse right now to replace Mitch McConnell as leading the GOP Senate. I don't know where your allegiances lie or who you're voting for. We haven't talked about this off air, but I'm not sure that we could pick anybody more bad and damaging to anything good on the right than John Cornyn. Is there another candidate possible at all, or are we just aimed for another 10 years of this idiocy?
Well, what we're trying to do is push the elections off. For some reason, in the past, they've turned around the day or two after the election. They bring in the new senators, but they go ahead and have a leadership vote. And we should wait until in January till everybody kind of sits down, gets over the election one way or the other, and think about it. I don't think that, I don't know where John's at on it. I know he's been running hard. He's been in my office talking to me. You also got John Thune running. You got several other people that are thinking about running. But at the end of the day, you're exactly right. We cannot continue down this path of the same type of leadership. Somebody has got to make a move to change the way we do things around here, even as a Republican. We can't continue down this path of spending $3, $4, $5 trillion more than we bring in. Our kids and grandkids, it's over for them, any kind of future.
Coach, appreciate you as always. Please come back, join us soon. All right. It is a great day today because it's National Voter Registration Day. And who knows more about voter registration than our friend, the man, Scott Presler, out there doing everything he can to try to win this election. Scott joins us to talk about that next. I have some amazing news. Today is National Voter Registration Day. So I don't really think, is there a better guest we could possibly have on this day than the man who's leading this effort, my friend Scott Presler, of course, of the Early Vote Action. I am a fan. I am a supporter. Scott's trying to win an election. Scott, it's National Voter Registration Day. Maybe you should have hosted the show today.
I'm telling you, it's my holiday, Jesse. Thank you for having me back.
Of course. You and I were speaking very briefly before the show. You said you have some news. What news do you have?
Yes, this is breaking. So I have, of course, been pushing voter registration on today. And I have heard a rumor that the Luzerne County Board of Elections has thousands of outstanding, unprocessed voter registration applications plus mail-in voting applications. And the reason why this is so concerning is this is a Democrat area that has been a Democrat stronghold for decades and is on the verge of flipping from blue to red, only 233 voters away. And this is where Kamala Harris just visited days ago to this county. The Democrats know they need it. The Democrats know that we're closing the gap. And furthermore, we're running out of time, Jesse. October 21st is the last day to register to vote in Pennsylvania. October 29th is the last day to request a mail-in ballot. And I am concerned that thousands of voters may be disenfranchised because of poor planning on the part of the Department of State.
Okay, well, this is tough to hear. What do we do about it? What can the normal person do about it? If you're in Pennsylvania, you're hearing this, you're freaking out, what should you be doing right now?
Well, coincidentally, Jesse, there is going to be a town hall with the manager of the Luzerne County BOE tomorrow in Wyoming. So if you kindly visit my X account at Scott Presler, ScottPres1SLER, I will have the information. It's tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time Zone in Wyoming, Pennsylvania. And it's important that the community peacefully show up and ask these hard questions and demand answers from the manager.
Okay, all right. So people show up, they ask questions, they demand answers. Okay. Where are we? Scott, give me a feel for Pennsylvania, because I know you are living there right now, and I know you're registering new voters. How are you doing that? What's your feeling on the ground? Give us something.
Well, in terms of the data, Jesse, we truly are crushing it. I know that Taylor Swift came out and endorsed Kamala Harris, and all of the Democrats are saying, oh my gosh, they're getting so many voter registrations. But get this. In the last 7 days, Jesse, from the voter registrations that have been processed, the Democrats added 9,000 voters to the rolls, but at the same time, Republicans added 13,700, and twice as many, almost 3 times as many Democrats switched to Republican as the opposite. And so our team at Early Vote Action, in collaboration with all of the volunteers across the state, we are out registering Taylor Swift. But wait, there's more, because in 2020, there were 650,000 more registered Democrats. That number today is below 347,000. And last most important part, that 4 years ago, the Democrats at this moment in time had 300,000 more mail-in ballot requests than they do today. Republicans are up in mail-in voting. Democrats are down. Republicans are making huge increases in voter registration. We are crushing it in Pennsylvania.
How about that? How about that? All right, Scott, hey, I'm mad about the second attempt on Donald Trump's life. I woke up this morning and I felt this need to do something, but sadly, I can't do anything, Scott. I'm not in Pennsylvania, so clearly I can't help, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Couple things. A, you can download my application on your iPhone or Android. It's called Early Vote Action. You can call, text, you can make phone calls, you can write postcards to Pennsylvania voters from wherever you are in the entire country. And furthermore, even if you're not in Pennsylvania and you're in another state, today is National Voter Registration Day. Go and print off voter registration forms, and I want you to take those forms and deliver them to your local gun store, deliver them to your local fraternity house, deliver them to your local American Legion or VFW hall. This is about meeting people where they are, courting the vote, and getting voters out to re-elect President Donald Trump on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024.
There you go. You just heard it from the man himself. Scott, appreciate you very much. Your hair is on point today, if I may point out. Scott Presler, everybody, thank you. All right. We're not done yet. Hang on. All right. It is time to lighten the mood, and I have amazing news. I'm so excited. I almost led the show with it. Red Lobster, they're not only out of bankruptcy, they're out of bankruptcy with a brand new CEO. Apparently some dude, some young genius who brings these restaurants back from nothing. They've got $60 million in cheddar to spread around for more Cheddar Bay biscuits. If you're one of the people who very rudely emailed me, ha, Jesse, your favorite restaurant's going down, well, eat your words now. And you know what? I have something else to say. If you're one of the people who mocked Red Lobster to me, you don't get to eat there ever again. You are banned from Red Lobster. Me? Well, that's where you'll find me this Friday. Salute to you, Red Lobster. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.